The movie begins with a soldier, Kinney, trying to pick between two boxes of cereal until he gets interrupted by his superior officer, Sugar, who tells him to get on the helicopter because they will be going off on a mission soon. Sugar scares Kinney by saying they'll be jumping off the helicopter and just walks away. The helicopter is headed to a Filipino island to rescue a CIA operative that was captured while trying to gather information about a Russian arms dealer. Kinney asks a lot of pointless questions, showing how nervous he is. The rest of the team tells him to relax. Meanwhile, back at the base, Eddie is watching college basketball when Nia walks in and takes him to the control room, but he goes to the kitchen and gets upset with the other soldiers about coffee. He gets a call from his wife who wants him to get ready for when their baby comes, since she is pregnant, and he, in turn, goes to the other soldiers and warns them to answer the phone when it rings because it will be his wife. But they are keeping their attention on the basketball game on the TV. The helicopter is approaching the landing zone, and everyone is ready. That's when the rest of the team learn that this is only Kinney's second mission, so they tell him things are going to get very difficult, and he needs to keep up. And as the light turns red, they all get ready to jump. Kinney is very nervous and can't open his parachute but gets to it just in time. They all land at the beach and head over to their target site. At the base, Eddie and Nia are also ready to provide drone support and act as eyes for the men on the ground. Eddie gets the drone on its way. Meanwhile, the team is quietly making its way through the jungle, and they make contact with Eddie. They send their location and are found on the map. In the jungle, everything is quiet, and Kinney informs them that he is actually here by accident, and he doesn't have the credentials to be on this mission. They're here to do a rescue mission, but it might not always end up that way. The team, especially Bishop, have a problem with Kinney because he thinks that drones and machines are better than people in war, but Bishop thinks it doesn't matter because people are dying, no matter how they are killed. All of a sudden, Abel spots something in the distance, and they tell Eddie about it, who takes a look using his drone camera. But the drone's camera fails, and the boys are now on their own. The soldiers get to their positions and they see something, but it was just a wild pig. The team manages to reach their destination and spot the various guards that are protecting the giant tent. They spread out and get in position to attack the enemy territory. Kinney sets up his gun rifle on top of a small bunker and looks out into the enemy base and takes notes about the various positions. Kinney spots the Russian arms dealer, Petrov, and the rest confirm that it is the correct guy. Everything is quiet until they spot some trucks coming in carrying armed men. The convoy comes across the bridge and they think these are terrorists, and their leader Saeed Hashimi walks out of one of those trucks. This throws a wrench into their plans. Meanwhile, Eddie is relaxing and playing some golf until he has to go back into the control room as the drone is now fixed. He gets the new coordinates from Kinney and finds their location. As they watch the meeting go down, they feel like something feels wrong, and their suspicions are confirmed when Hashimi shoots Petrov down. They watch the terrorists shoot everyone else but can't do anything about it because they are given orders to not engage with the enemy. Hashimi, after killing Petrov's wife, brings out his son to kill him too. They decide to not let this happen, and Eddie shoots his missile from the drone, but it won't get here fast enough, so they shoot Hashimi in the leg, and the missile blows up the compound. Kinney ends up being very close to the enemy soldiers and has to be very quiet, and the rest of the team shoot down the soldiers at the same time, but not without a grenade making it on them. Now it's a shootout, and everyone is rushing to get together and make it to safety. Abel gets shot in the middle of this and can't keep shooting, and he is saved by Kinney, who wants to help him, but it is too late for Abel. Sugar and Bishop are pinned down by RPGs and are trying to fight away from them desperately. Kinney finds the truck with the RPG and tells Eddie to take it down, but it is still not fast enough, and the RPG hits Sugar and Bishop dead on before the missile arrives and blows up the truck. Kinney is alone and taking fire from machine guns, and is now running through the field into the trees to keep safe, but can't communicate with Eddie or his team. Eddie finally gets in contact with Eddie, who tells him the rest of the team is gone, and now they have to get him out of there. The area in front of him is filled with hostiles, and since Kinney is panicking, Eddie tells him that a helicopter is coming just so he can calm down, and tells him he needs to move. In the vast jungle, Kinney is tired and walking alone when he hears something. A truck is on his path, and there are people coming to kill him. He runs across the river and hides under a tree as the truck shows up next to the river. He stays hidden and watches them cross with their horses, but Eddie is found out by a dog. A man gets very close to Kinney, but the dog leaves him alone and he can now calm down because they are leaving his position. It's starting to get dark and Kinney is still walking, and Eddie talks to him so he won't focus on the road. They bond over stories because they went to the same college. Night falls and Kinney is still walking in the jungle. He asked for the helicopter and learns that it is very close. Kinney makes his way through the grass and is alone. so all he has to do is wait for the helicopter, which is on its way. As it lands, Kinney runs over to it but is shot by someone. There are many soldiers shooting from different directions, and the helicopter fights back but takes off and has to leave when an RPG shoots at them. There are even more enemy soldiers now, and Kinney is stranded alone among the firefight. Eddie sends a missile to take down a large group, but there is still more coming. He finds somewhere to get cover, and he has a jet on his way that sends 2 missiles, which blows up the whole line, but there are still some enemies left. The jet makes another run and shoots very close to Kinney, but he survives. It's morning and Kinney is walking to the next extraction point, and Eddie tells him sometimes things change, but Kinney is actually interested in Eddie's 3 ex-wives and 8 kids. Eddie is here because he said the wrong thing to a superior officer and got taken off flying fighter jets. But suddenly, Kinney trips and falls down into a river, and now he has 3 hostile soldiers headed his way. He shoots one and runs off down the river with the rest following him, so he has no choice but to jump into the waterfall and hide under the waterfall. But as soon as he gets out, he is caught. Eddie calls the colonel and tells him about everything that's been going on so far. He wants to stay on the mission until Kinney is brought back, and he gets permission. Meanwhile, Kinney is being held captive and is being tortured, and some mysterious man approaches the house and shoots down 2 people and rescues Kinney. It's Sugar who unties him and gives him some water and tells him that Bishop is also still alive, but he is captured as well. Sugar motivates him as they gather weapons for their fight. As they walk in the jungle, Kinney is tearing up a water bottle and climbing a tree to get in contact with Eddie. He has built an antenna using the water bottle and finds the signal. He tells Eddie that they are going back to the initial mission location to save Bishop. At Petrov's house, Sugar and Kinney come up with a plan to get Bishop out of enemy hands. Eddie gets a bomber plane and informs Kinney about the plane and gets the location of the drop. Eddie still wants to stay on the mission, but the colonel forces him to leave because he is too tired for this. Eddie argues back, but the colonel forces them to leave. In the jungle, Kinney and Sugar are looking at the entrance of the enemy base. They go over the plan one more time and go in. They creep towards the first tent and shoot their first terrorist. They keep going and make it into the house and find 2 people inside watching football. Sugar sneaks in and takes one and fights the other. And now Kinney is also dragged into a fight. Both Sugar and Kinney win, but another one walks in shooting, but his gun jammed, and they tackle him into the glass and go out shooting at the soldiers on the truck. They keep going and run into some soldiers who shoot Sugar. Kinney picks him up and drags him to safety, but has to fight a soldier and also get saved by Sugar, who is almost dying. But it's not over. A grenade blows up next to them. They wake up being dragged into cages, and they are beaten up and bloody and find Bishop in there too. Sugar is in bad shape but is still not giving up. Kinney warns the terrorists that there will be bombs coming their way soon, and everyone needs to leave, but they don't listen to him. The terrorists are setting up a camera while Sugar is passing out, and Kinney tells him things are going to be fine, but he gets dragged out and put in front of the camera. Sugar stays strong as Hashimi shoots him in the head, not knowing there is a bomb coming within 15 minutes. Eddie is in a parking lot while Kinney gets dragged into a torture room and beaten up badly. Eddie, on the other hand, is shopping for groceries. Kinney is on his knees and hears a story about the land from Hashimi, who is getting weapons to torture Kinney. Hashimi tells him the reason why they took up arms to fight the West, but Kinney says that's not what they should be talking about. There are more bombs on the way, and they should leave this place, but Hashimi doesn't believe him and smashes his face with a hammer. But they're not done. They dunk him in water and keep asking him where the other soldiers are located, but even if he tells them the truth about no one else being there, Hashimi wants to know more, but there is no more information, but they still torture Kinney. Hashimi then reveals that even if he is a brutal man, it has cost him his morality and wishes he doesn't have to do this. At the supermarket, Eddie asks the clerk about some weird item his wife wants, and the clerk knows it right away and gives it to him. It's time to drop the bomb, but Kinney is still being tortured by the terrorists. The bombs are now on the way and crash into the building with a giant explosion. Somehow, Kinney isn't dead and gets up and tries to find a way out before the next bomb arrives. He's scrambling and coughing and finds a weapon. He goes down a collapsed hallway and finds a prisoner trying to break out of his cage. It's the CIA agent that they came to rescue in the first place. He carries him out and finds Hashimi still alive next to Bishop and kills him. He gets Bishop out of the cage, and now there is only 5 minutes left until the next strike. Kinney is trying to contact the command center, but can't get a signal. The bombers are on their way, and Kinney needs to find a way out quickly. He calls the base, but the basketball is already distracting the soldiers and they just give him Eddie's number. Eddie is shopping around and gets a call from Kinney but doesn't answer because he's on the phone with his wife. Eddie then listens to the voicemail and takes off out the door to his base. He gets there just in time and aborts the bombs, saving Kinney and the rest. When Eddie finds out about them not answering the phone, he goes over and smashes the TV so they can pay more attention. The movie ends with the boys on the helicopter, finally headed back home after going through hell. And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our video. Watch the next recaps on the screen and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing recaps. See you in the next one.